Welcome back to BeerFormers. This is episode 39. Thanks again for sticking with us. Keep watching these things where we talk about some of our favorite things, Transformers toys, and adult beverages.
Absolutely.
All right, so last time we talked about the Seekers. We did the original 3 jets, Starscream, Thundercracker, Skywarp. Skywarp being my favorite of the 3. I know you like Starscream, but
yes, his name is so awesome.
They're all. I mean, Bob Budiansky, who created all these guys for the initial run, I think did a superb job of coming up with clever names and things like that. We alluded last time though that there were other Seekers, and specifically the ones that came out like in the second year of the cartoon that were they were known for having a cone-shaped head.
Yes.
Yeah. So we're going to highlight those here for our 39 episodes. We're going to just jump right to it. Yeah, they're French. They come from France. If you don't get that joke, look up Saturday Night Live. So here they are. Let's go ahead and get them out here. The 3 of the Coneheads are Ramjet,
Beldar,
Dirge,
Primate,
and Thrust.
Connie.
All the Coneheads here together. Now I have them displayed as Coneheads. As you're going to see when I start putting up artwork on the screen a little bit, they were not originally intended to be that way. The original packaging artwork for these guys showed them with their heads back.
Have a cone.
With their heads back like the original Seekers were.
But you can't do that because that is their head.
Right.
That's their head right there.
Yeah, so their faces are there. So they're actually shown that they were conceived as being just like Thundercracker, Starscream, and Skywarp in every way. But for whatever reason, I've never heard, I don't know if anyone truly 100% knows. When they did the cartoon, they had their head up. So I suspect that somebody was playing with them, you know, and the art department there at Sunbow Productions, or Marvel Productions there, and was like, how can we make these guys different? And somebody's like, what if we did that? You know? And in the cartoon, their cones are way smaller than this. These cones are giant. These are truly like Conehead cones. They're played like this. But that's how they were played in the cartoon. And by the time they got put out for the comic book too, that stuck. These guys have always been shown with their nose cone pointed up when they're in robot mode. But so let's go ahead and transform them. Let's talk about them one at a time.
If I remember.
So these are exactly the same body as the original Seekers, Starscream, Thundercracker, Skywarp. All that's different about these guys is that they have, for the most part, different arm weapons and different wings. Okay, we'll talk about each one of these as you kind of get to them. Remember, you got to take the fists off, too, because these are parts formers. That's parts do have to come off to help transform these. Pew. So the original chassis for these guys is based around the F-15 fighter jet from McDonnell Douglas in St. Louis. Right?
Yay! Am I doing all right?
No, you're way off already. You got to get the head out of the way first thing before you do anything else. So if you remember how this goes, you got to tuck it like that. Yeah, you got it. You do have that.
And that goes like that.
And you got to snap it in kind of place too. That kind of locks, like the head kind of like that. There you go. Then you can put the arms back.
And they go in here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and that's
do
called
both of them.
lock.
You got to do both of them though.
All right. So keep talking.
So the story behind these 3 particular designs, was that someone, I guess they had toyed around with the F-15 of thinking like, what if we did certain things with the jet, maybe see if it makes it work, fly better. It's like test pilot type stuff or test.
No wheels.
Test design.
Oh, they're up here.
Nope.
Oh, where are the wheels?
The wheel. I always stored them in the cockpit.
Yeah,
if
but
I
they're
had
not there.
I must not have the cockpit.
Oh, you don't have the wheels. Okay.
So for this one is Ramjet. So the first one here, as I was saying, so they're based around these ideas like if they did different things to the F-15 to try to like maybe do like test flight tests with them to see if maybe tinkering with the wings might be a better thing or a worse thing or not. You did this wrong last time too.
Okay.
They go in the same holes when they come off.
What you mean wrong hole?
What you mean wrong hole? So for Ramjet here, the first one, he is kind of portrayed as kind of like he's just kind of a brute.
Okay.
All right. And
missiles?
as his name, they go on the wing. As his name suggests, it's not that he has ramjets to power him. A ramjet is a particular type of jet engine that actually can only work if the jet's already moving, or if the plane's already moving forward. So it doesn't suck air in like a regular jet does. Certainly doesn't suck. But once it's moving forward, a ramjet can then take advantage of the fact that air is already going into the jet to then power the jet further.
Okay.
So it's a specialized type of jet engine. He's called Ramjet because he's portrayed as having an armored nose cone. So he can like crash
so he literally
into
rams things.
Yes, he literally rams things. He's got these giant missile
just a clever name.
or bomb pods on the other side of his wing. And his design is based around a concept for the F-15 that had like what they call a delta wing configuration. So they swapped out their traditional F-15 wings, put them on these. It looks like he has an additional set of engines on the wings too. So we've had 4 engines particularly. So if this was actually a thing that would have gotten built, it probably would have been pretty fast.
Has there ever been an actual fighter jet with 4 engines?
Probably. That's a great question. I don't know the answer to that 100%. But so it's still an F-15 at its heart. It's just got a different wing and a different tail fin configuration as a result of it. But that was Ramjet. So next up we have Dirge.
And the hands just go wherever.
Yeah, again, as a parts former, the hands don't have anywhere to go particularly.
All right, Dirge.
So transformed the exact same way.
Too.
Yeah, he's my oldest one. His nose cone is actually chewed up.
Oh, how did it get chewed up?
I think I got it that way. No, I got it that way. So I'm not sure who did the chewing.
Do you think it's dog or person?
I think I might have got this from my friend, and I think maybe it was he or his brother or their dog or who knows.
Okay.
But
that's funny.
Yeah. So I've had this one for quite a while.
Wow.
I think I traded my friend Shane from it back in the day.
These could be Shane's.
It might have been his brother Kyle or his brother Skippy.
If
you're watching this, Shane, you know what I'm talking about. But
all right.
So Dirge is based around his power.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we said Ramjet had the power to like crash into things. Literally had an armored nose cone.
Yeah.
Dirge, I think Dirge and the next guy might have had their names swapped somewhere during development. Yeah. Because Dirge is supposed to make a lot of noise. Oh. So he's like a dirge, right? So his noise powers that come from his engines, I guess, mess up other transformers. Like it gets into disorients them, causes fear. So he likes to fly over things and causes fear. Do I have landing gear for that one?
You got wheels.
You got landing gear for that one. So he would like to try to use his engine noise to cause fear, like a dirge, like the name suggests, like I said, like a war song or something like that. His missiles are kind of small and skinny, not like the traditional wings. All the original Seekers, Thundercracker, Skywarp, Starscream, they all have the exact same gun emplacements, but these 3 guys did have some different ones.
Okay.
With one exception, as you're going to see next.
Okay.
So Dirge, when he is transformed, he's based on a concept that would have had, see the wings in this one. He's got these little wings in the front. Those are called canards. So they were experimenting maybe with having like different control surfaces that would affect the flight of and therefore the performance of the F-15. So instead of like a smaller wing in the back, they moved those small wings up front. And again, those are called canards. And so this design with these wing configuration is based around that concept idea. What if we did that to the F-15?
Okay.
And the guns still go on the wings.
Yep. There we go.
Always go on the wings.
All right. So Dirge was loud.
So Dirge was loud and used this sound as a weapon.
This guy was snashy.
He would crash into things.
And this guy was loud.
Lastly, we have Thrust.
Okay.
Okay.
He was fast, right?
Potentially. When you get a transform, we'll talk about why some people think their names might have got swapped. All right?
Okay.
He still has the traditional guns that the original Seekers had. His guns are the exact same. And just so I wouldn't lose them when I was a kid, I usually the missiles were meant to be shot.
Oh, okay. Is there even a spring in there?
No, there's not even a spring in there. So because the 80s, the firing missiles were kind of like outlawed for a short time.
Yeah, that wasn't cool.
These would just go in there and they would sort of lock you in place, but the mechanism that would like help launch them and lock them in place was always very, very loose, right? So I always got in the habit of just picking a weapon that I liked in these type of things, and I would just glue it in place. Okay. So that's what happened with Thruster.
I'm a little worried about this one. I can't get the nose through there, and I'm afraid I'm going to break it.
Because you got to bring it down.
Oh.
Pull it back and then flip it up.
Oh, see, that's...
You've done that the other 2 times, but you talked yourself out of it this time.
Oh, and his hands
there's no way it could be the exact same. Yeah, actually, for this one.
Very gun-shy.
And and I appreciate that for you because you don't want to break them. And these things are, almost, in this case of these guys, almost 40 years old.
In regular life, I'm kind of a bull in the china shop. I kind of just plod forward and let the chips fall where they may, and sometimes I break things, which isn't great, and I don't want to do that. You got the wheels in here.
I got the wheel down. So I just don't have the wheels for Ramjet, right? Okay.
Right.
Let's get him on. Let's get him finished up so we can finish talking about what his deal is.
All right. Can't wait to find out.
Now, I don't remember... Thrust is the one of the 3 where his power is kind of nondescript that I remember. I don't remember it being like a big deal. It wasn't something super important like that. But I can tell you what his design is supposed to be like once you got him in jet mode here, right?
Okay.
We're going to put the guns on too?
Yes.
Yeah. So, Thrust was built around an idea, and the gun pods actually kind of blow on this one, to be honest with you. But you see these special things on the side of his wings here like this, right? He was supposed to be based on a concept for maybe a vertical takeoff and landing version of it, right?
And that's what those engines
are.
are.
They're supposed to be like big fans here that would press that up. So having the missile attached to it kind of...
What was that called?
Foul that.
What kind
VTOL.
Okay.
VTOL, vertical takeoff and landing.
Okay, but what jet?
Oh, you're thinking of the Harrier.
Yes.
Yeah, the Harrier. So the Harrier was the first one of those that could really actually do it. So this was like a designed idea for taking the F-15 and say, can we make it vertical takeoff? So he's got different tail fins here in the back of that for as well too. So the reason why some people think Thrust and Dirge may have been name swapped is that, you know, him with the vertical takeoff, that would make a lot of noise. Like have a dirge to it. Whereas with the swept back wings and the canards, that would make this a little more sleek and therefore fast. So is that 100% factual? Do we know that for sure? No, not that I'm aware of.
Is it in your head canon?
If you know for sure, if that. No, I don't know if I'd say it's in my head canon or not. I guess we'll make it official now. Head canon confirmed. Cue the graphic.
You heard it here, folks.
Cue the graphic.
Breaking news.
So Thrust was supposed to be a vertical takeoff, but I can't remember what his power was, if anything. He didn't have, like I said, he didn't have...
Well, with a name like Thrust, I would think that he would go Mach 7.
Yeah, but with the vertical takeoff wings like that.
Is that a thing?
Yeah. Mach 7?
Yeah, or would you just, destroy
Mach,
things with your
Mach is
sound waves?
Yeah, Mach is just multiples of speed of sound, right? So Mach 1 is just going the speed of sound, so
would
Mach
you
7 would
disintegrate
be...
at Mach 7?
Probably. Well, I mean, I know the spacecrafts travel way more multiple Machs than we think of, right?
Right.
When they're traveling, 17,000.
Yeah, but they don't have air.
Right.
Well,
like the spaceship would come to coming in for a landing, it was going pretty fast, at least initially, until they slowed it down. Anyway, so Thrust, Dirge, Ramjet, the Coneheads, they're also seekers because of the whole jet styling thing here. There's only 2 other ones that I have.
They consume mass quantities of energy.
They do.
Okay, just checking.
Nah. Oh, the Coneheads. But these guys, when these guys appeared in the cartoon, they were kind of like, they just showed up. There wasn't like a big story like, oh look, they're here. They were just there.
They're just there.
And they were just more warriors who Starscream ordered around, and they would these guys were portrayed as a lot more bungling than Thundercracker and Skywarp.
Were they kind of the comic relief?
Borderline sometimes. Yeah, sometimes borderline. Although they had their one big episode, like Ramjet. There was an episode where Ramjet decides he's gonna be the Decepticon leader and builds his own he builds his own little mini army of like a couple other guys who followed him for one episode. And then of course he gets his rear end handed to him when because he's not really that much of a leader.
Right. So, but that's interesting. Yeah. It seems like a lot of the traders seem to be coming from the midst of the Seekers.
I might get this one wrong, but I think Dirge it was Ramjet again. Ramjet also went back in time in one episode. They went back to medieval King Arthur times, and one of Rumble or Frenzy, one of the two, it's probably Rumble, was riding on him in a joust. He was jousting against the Warpath, the Autobot tank,
Of course they were.
Yeah, and of course because he had the crashable nose, he thought, I'm going to win this for sure. But Warpath being a tank took him out, like that. But so as I was saying, there's only 2 other of these that are in my collection that are this body style. And we might do those in a future episode. We won't stick with these guys forever. But I do have Sunstorm, who I teased last episode. Yeah. Sunstorm is an orange version of the original guys, Starscream, Thundercracker, Skywarp. He was introduced in the comics in the early 2000s. Okay. He was like a clone of Starscream, kind of gone wrong. He had heat and solar powers, for whatever reason. And also they put out a special edition of Starscream.
Why did they clone Starscream?
I can't remember. It was all in the comic books. It was all in the comic books that came out at that time.
This didn't seem wise.
But the name Sunstorm has stuck around. There's several Sunstorm toys now.
Yeah,
so
that's a good name too.
He's become part of the
with the whole
canon,
lexicon.
The lexicon and stuff like that.
Cool.
But they did an all clear plastic version of Starscream that I have too.
Ooh, where's that at?
It's back in the back there. But that was I got that one because it's supposed to represent Starscream's ghost.
Oh, okay. Wait, they have souls, so they can have ghosts.
They got the spark. The spark.
That spark is a soul.
It's canon that Starscream's spark is immortal somehow.
Okay.
How that is, they don't know.
So
they're trying to.
It
gets played upon in 2 things. In the Transformers movie in '87, when that came out, 86, 87, it was 87. Galvatron / Megatron kills Starscream. I mentioned that in our last episode.
Mm-hmm.
He chucks Megatron out into space, has a big coronation, like I'm the new Decepticon leader. Galvatron shows up and disintegrates him, right? And so when you're watching that as a kid, you're like, oh my God, another Transformer just got roasted. The Transformers movie was jarring for many kids. because you had all these characters and like, oh my, they're gone now.
Yeah.
But anyway, in season 3 of the cartoon, which took place after Transformers the movie, they did a couple of episodes where you find out Starscream wasn't killed when that happened. His spirit lived on. And this is before they had the concept of the spark, so it was just his ghost, is what they called it. And he possessed a couple people, and made them do stuff, to try to help to mess up Galvatron. So flash forward to the mid '90s. I mentioned this last episode too. By then it's Beast Wars. They introduced the concept of the spark, which is basically a physical embodiment of the Transformer's soul. And in one episode of Beast Wars, Starscream's spark is floating through space, and it comes to the planet that the Beast Wars guys are on it, and it possesses Waspinator. It does the same thing, and it makes Waspinator do a bunch of stuff, right? So they established that Starscream's spark is immortal as a result of that, and that then led the Maximals and Predacons to experiment with trying to recreating that. So they created another character called Rampage, who also had an immortal spark, and this whole this goes out forever, right? Yeah. So I got that clear Starscream because of that's kind of cool. Starscream's ghost.
That is cool. I kind of want to see that now.
So we'll bust that out eventually for you sometime. So.
Okay.
So this is the it for the remaining Seekers from the original G1 line. So again, the first 3 Seekers, the original Starscream, Thundercracker, Skywarp.
These are very old. I mean, and the stickers are starting to peel.
Some of them have been placed wrong, especially on Dirge. Then the next year they came out with these Seekers. Ramjet, Dirge, Thrust, and then we didn't get any more Seekers at all until much further on. So it's ballooned since then. They had all the ones in the cartoon that we mentioned last episode, but none of those really got toys until within the last 20 years.
Which one of these is your favorite of these 3?
I think I like Thrust the most. I like the vertical takeoff wings. Yeah. That's kind of cool looking. Yeah.
Those colors are pretty cool too.
Yeah. And all these guys have had multiple remakes over the years.
This one's kind of got boring colors.
Yeah.
This one's almost the same, except it's white. Its body is white.
Yeah. So let's celebrate with some whiskey.
Okay,
what kind of whiskey we're going to talk about again this week? Okay. We talked about good old Chattanooga whiskey in the last episode.
We got another whiskey for you because we went to Atlanta 2 weekends in a row.
We did.
And so to celebrate on the way back, we stopped at a distillery that's part of their whiskey trail that we've always wanted to stop at. We've never had time. We're talking about Casey Jones Distillery in Hopkinsville, Kentucky. So, Dave, why don't you grab us? Yeah, please go grab us our whiskey.
Tell us a little about Casey Jones.
I'm going to. So
we're going to do a twofer for once.
I know. Well, because Casey Jones Distillery, they're known for their bourbon, barrel cut, and shine. That's what they say. Their slogan is, "We know our spirits." So Casey Jones Distillery, this is the legacy and legend behind Casey Jones Distillery. When I think of Casey Jones, I think of the train and the Dumbo movie. But this is a real guy.
That's Casey Jr. though.
Oh, okay.
Casey Jr.'s coming round.
That's what pops in my head. Yeah. So
isn't Casey Jones the baseball player? Mighty Casey struck out?
I don't know what his last name is.
Anyway, keep going.
Boy, there's a lot of Caseys out there. But so here's the deal. So Casey Jones was an actual dude, okay? Or they say around the time of Prohibition that Al Capone, he bootlegged a lot of whiskey from many different places, but he liked what he got down in what they called Golden Pond, Kentucky, the best.
On Golden Pond?
Yeah, because of Casey Jones, the master still maker. Okay, he liked the way that the whiskey tasted, and Casey Jones was known for making his stills out of copper instead of steel, because he did it that way because you didn't get any zinc kind of. Being, what do you call that when it transfers?
Yeah,
the flavor transfer. I can't think of the
specific word for that, but yeah, and not to mention
it doesn't leach out.
And copper is a better heat conductor than steel too.
So maybe that has something to do with it too. But so he was known for using copper, even though it's
more expensive.
More expensive, and his stills were always square. So they're these square pot copper stills. And so he made these stills for many years, all the way through World War I. He even went to jail for a little while for bootlegging. But his stills were known all over Kentucky. And So it says Casey built stills in just about every hollow in the land between the lakes.
Never want to be more than 100 yards away from the still.
Yeah, exactly. And it says here on their website, Casey's legendary ingenuity and passion inspired his grandson, Arlen Casey Jones, to follow in his footsteps. It says Casey built his last still in 1967, and AJ, as Arlen Casey Jones is known, used that still, which is on display in the distillery. We got a picture
so there's a picture of it. You'll see it.
To guide the still that they still use to this day. So they start off with basically a family recipe that's been handed down from generation to generation, but they do all kinds of imaginative distillings, all kinds of like you saw, small batches. They got all kinds of shines, different flavored shines. I would say, and they've got rye. I'm looking at they've got corn forward mashes, 4-grain wheat. You got something for all different kinds of flavor profiles for you to try down there. So we stopped by. You can get tours of the whole facility. We did not partake in a tour, which one of these days we should.
Yeah, but we've been to several places that show us how the distilling process works, and frankly, it's always the same. You know, I mean, the square pot thing would be a little different,
but there's things you can do at Casey. There's things you can do at Casey Jones, like you can make your own mash and you can bottle your own. Those are some different tours that they have. So there's a real experience to it. They also had. The tasting room was great. They also had a nice tap room where you could relax and enjoy a beverage.
Out in the middle of just the big fields, it's very pastoral.
Yeah,
you know.
They had a couple of dogs that were kind of walking around, bossing the place. It was beautiful. It's out in the middle of farmland. So it was very peaceful. When we did our tasting, it was just us and another gentleman, and so we had the attention of the person behind the bar. One of the things that they do is you get, I think it was like 8 tastes, right?
Something like that.
And you can mix or match.
But there was more stuff to taste that you had taste of. So
right.
You could like say, no, I don't want to try that one.
Exactly. So you weren't forced to, like, we were not really interested this day in trying any of the flavored moonshines, but that meant we got to try some more of their aged bourbons, So anyway,
well, let's lead off with the moonshine.
Okay, so we brought home two of our favorites that we had that day. We haven't tried them again since we got home, so let's see if we still like them. The first one we chose to bring home a moonshine because that's what they started off with, and this was actually a really tasty moonshine. And this one was fun because they called it their Total Eclipse moonshine, and they distilled it in honor of the eclipse that passed through. I want to say it was in. Is that the one?
This one actually on the bottle. It's in honor of both of them, the 2017 one and the 2024.
Okay.
But this one was made around the time of the 2024 eclipse.
Right.
Yeah.
So as you can see,
I don't know if
it's where the eclipse kind of passed through, and you could see it really well down there. So. Yeah. But yeah, this is moonshine. It's completely clear. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, you can smell that corn. Woo!
It's 100 proof.
That is some aroma right there. Let's see if it burns our tongue.
It tastes like corn. Get their corn from a jar, like the song.
Oh, but man, that's smooth moonshine. I don't know if you've had White Lightning.
It's got a little sweet at the end, which I like.
White Lightning will set your head aflame. This is more like a nice little warmth explosion going across my stomach. Oh, that feels good. Yeah. And it's just so smooth.
Total Eclipse moonshine.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
2017, 2024, the Great American Eclipses passed the totality, so it shows in the map. 2 spirits, 1 incredible celebration. We've created both Total Eclipse moonshine and Total Eclipse bourbon, which we did not buy the bourbon. We like the moonshine a little better. Yeah. For the Great American Eclipses of 2017 and 2024. Arlen Casey Jones is master distiller. So that's a good one, yeah.
That is very, very good.
I am generally not a fan of moonshines. It's not like a moral thing, obviously. It's just,
No, they're usually pretty harsh.
They're pretty harsh, and they're a little, the corn flavor kind of.
we've had moonshine that somebody brought from somebody's still in the woods, and it was in a jar, and when you lifted the lid off, you could see that underneath the vapors had been working on the metal lid. So, and it was like, woo! Yeah. So, anyway. This one I like.
Oh my God. One I do like. That's why when we were at the place, I'm like, what are we going to get? Like, maybe we'll get some of the moonshine.
No, that's great. That's really good moonshine.
The other one we have is their straight bourbon whiskey.
All right, just rinsing that out a little bit there. Palate cleanse.
A little bit there.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell us about what's the deal with this one. Do you remember?
No, it was
their basic, right?
Yeah.
No, it's small batch.
This is their small batch.
It's their small batch. You're right.
Yeah. So, the legs on it though. Look at that. Woo!
Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't remember hearing about these guys except for when we did the drive. We always saw the signs for it. This is part of a.
It smells like cherries.
There's Casey Jones. There's Old Glory, which we've done before on this episode. There's
MB Roland.
MB Roland. And is that it? Is this those three?
Yeah.
They're part of what they call the state line tour.
Yeah.
Those three distilleries are close to the Kentucky and Tennessee border.
And we went to Dickel too. But
yes, but Dickel wasn't part of this thing.
Yeah.
You see billboards for it if you're traveling on I-24, heading down toward Nashville and stuff. So we made a point to visit all three of these places here recently, and this
is heavenly.
This was a lot of fun. This place was really cool.
Oh, so when I get this explosion of cherries, and little cinnamon on the back of my tongue. Oh. But everything is just well-rounded. It's like you don't... that's why I appreciate a good bourbon, because you don't get as overwhelmed with like this alcohol-y, burny sensation when you smell it.
The aromas that come from the wood. Again, I keep saying the word wood, but it's all about the wood, the charred barrels, and all that stuff that they've been doing down there.
Yeah.
It's what's funny is some of these places now, between this places like this and breweries, barrels are just going back and forth.
Yeah.
So these guys had some stuff that was like from barrels that had beer in them, and now they're putting whiskey back in them again. Remember that? So these barrels are just making the circuit. They're doing some fun stuff with aging beers and re-aging liquors.
I'm really appreciating, the aged spirits and beer more and more because of the fun flavor profiles that you can get out of it. So
you get sent to a brewery and they put a stout in it for a few months, and the barrel comes back to Casey Jones, and they put a whiskey back in it, and so then you get this whiskey that's got some beer notes and vice back and forth. It's really a lot of fun. It's a great time to people are doing experimental things rather than just producing the same old whiskey.
Read the back of this real quick. This is one bourbon that's worth the wait from the distillery that brings you award-winning Casey Jones Moonshine. Comes Casey Jones Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. Master distiller Arlen Casey Jones's recipe continues the family tradition for making only the best small batch spirits. Aged in premium charred white oak barrels, frequently checked and at long last dumped when it's reached perfection for each small batch bottling. Perfect on the rocks, neat, or in your favorite cocktail. This bourbon makes every sip special. I wouldn't put it in a cocktail.
You use mixer whiskey for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, although I'm sure that they probably make some fabulous cocktails down there.
But they had so many different things to try that day, and we tried them all, and it was so hard to pick. So we settled on these two, mostly because they did offer them in a smaller bottle size, so we could bring home more than one. But it was a good time. Yeah. So
that's fabulous.
All right.
So recommend stopping by Casey Jones Distillery. One thing that I found interesting while we were there, when we were parked, there were probably only about maybe 5 or 6 other cars there, but one of the license plates was from Vermont, and one of the license plates...
Was it a Hawaii one there too?
No, we saw it in another place, but the other one was like from Montana or something.
Okay, so
it was just amazing that right here in the middle of Kentucky, we were being joined by people from so far away, which means that they were there on a pilgrimage. So it tells you how special this place is. So
cool.
Yeah, we're glad we got to go. I'll go back in a heartbeat.
So the Coneheads thank us for talking about them, bringing them back out, telling everybody how they come from France. And
cheers.
But as we get ready to wind things down here, as we do, if you're interested in knowing more about Transformers in general, Go to the tfwiki.net page, the Transformers Wiki. It's got everything you possibly want to know about Transformers and then some. Chris McFeely, who I always name drop for his channel called The Basics on different Transformers, definitely has these guys available. So you can look up more from him on that. Those are really good. Some of my favorite videos on the internet on YouTube, especially about Transformers,
And if you want to know more about the Coneheads, go to SNL Network.
Yes. But so if you'd like to know more about those, check those places out there too. I'm sure there's other awesome, great places to find information about Transformers. Those are just my two favorites.
Sure.
I'm plugging them in my hair. But as we get ready to, we don't have anything to toast with. Oh my gosh, what are we doing?
I guess we're just gonna have to drink right out of the bottle.
But if you'd like to know more about any other Transformer as we get ready to wind down, drop us a line, let us know. Say, hey, you haven't done this one. Let's do that. And we'll be happy to hear from it.
You're gonna do a Moonshine. Okay.
So yeah, if you'd like to know about any other Transformer toy that we haven't talked about yet, drop us a line.
And if there's any beer, any spirit, any distillery, any brewery that you have found that you're like, this is fabulous, and we think BeerFormers should head there, please let us know. Drop us a line right down here in the comments. I'm telling you, the first person who does that, we are totally going to that place. I'll be so excited about it.
It'll be like in Alaska or something, but we'll make it happen. We'll make it happen. We just went to another new place just the other day.
Well, that's coming.
But that'll be coming up in a future episode.
No spoilers.
No spoilers there. But so yeah, make sure you hit all the buttons, like, subscribe. Please share our video. We got to get it out there so we can get more likes and more views and all that kind of stuff.
We want more people to see these pretty faces.
Right.
These pretty faces.
One of the pretty large collection, if I could say so myself. I'm bragging myself a little bit here. But as we get ready to sign off, as we like to say here at BeerFormers, please drink responsibly and play responsibly. Check us out on BeerFormers.
More than meets the ride.
No ride this time.